Gunatira Vanachari Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
So, we're reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi-Lila, chapter 10, which specifically talks about the devotional branches of Sri Chaitanya, or the tree of devotional service, which comes in line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, particularly verse number 60. So, I will read the verse and you can repeat after me. Ashwadila e sabarasa sena shivananda
Asvadila e sabarasa sena shivananda
Vistarika hibe age e saba ananda
Vistarika hiba agi e sabananda
Aswadila e sabarasa sena shivananda
Asvadila e sabarasa sena shivananda
Vistarika hibe age e saba ananda
Vistarika hiba agi e sabananda
Asvadila e sabarasa sena shivananda
Asvadila e sabarasa sena shivananda
Vistarika hibe age e saba ananda
Vistarika hiba agi sabananda
Anyone would like to repeat?
Asvadila e sabarasa sena shivananda
Aswadila e sabarasa sena shivananda
Vistarika hiba agi sabananda
Vistarika hibe age e saba ananda. Okay. Aswadila e sabarasa sena shivananda Vistarika hibe age sava ananda. So we read the word to word and again you can repeat after me. Aswadila
Asvadila
tasted
tasted
these Sava all Rasa mellows Sena Shivananda Shivananda Sena Vistari describing vividly Kahiba I shall speak Age later on Aisaba all this Ananda transcendental bliss. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Prabhupada and some of his disciples. Translation. Srila Shivananda Sena experienced the three features of Sakshat, Avesha and Avirbhava. Later I shall vividly describe this transcendently blissful subject. Purport. Srila Shivananda Sena has been described by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj as follows. Shivananda Maharaj was a resident of Kumarahata, which is also known as Hali Sahara, and was a great devotee of the Lord. About 1.5 miles from Kumarahata is another village known as Kanchadapada, in which there are Gaura Gopala deities installed by Shivananda Sena, who also established a temple of Krishna Raya that is still existing. Shivananda Sena was the father of Paramananda Sena, who was also known as Puri Das or Kavi Karnapura. Paramananda Sena wrote in his Ganodesha Dipika that two of the gopis of Vrindavan, whose former names were Veera and Duti, combined to become his father. Srila Shivananda Sena guided all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya who went from Bengal to Jagannath Puri, and he personally bore all expenses for their journey. This is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela chapter 16 verses 19 through 27. Srila Shivananda Sena had three sons, namely Chaitanya Das, Ramadas, and Paramananda. As mentioned above, his last son later became Kavi Karnapura and wrote the Gaura Ganodesha Dipika. His spiritual master was Srinath Pandit, who was Shivananda Sena's priest. Due to Vasudeva Datta's lavish spending, Shivananda Sena was engaged to supervise his expenditures. Srila Shivananda Sena actually experienced Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's features of Sakshat, Avesha, and Avirbhava. He once took along a dog while on his way to Jagannath Puri, and it is described in the Antya Leela first chapter that this dog later attained salvation by his association. When Srila Raghunath Das, who later became Raghunath Das Goswami, fled his paternal home to join Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his father wrote a letter to Shivananda Sena to get information about him. Shivananda Sena supplied him the details for which he asked, and later Raghunath Das Goswami's father sent some servants and money to Shivananda Sena to take care of Raghunath Das Goswami. Once Sri Shivananda Sena invited Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his home and fed him so sumptuously that the Lord felt indigestion and was somewhat sick. This became known to Shivananda Sena's eldest son, Chaitanya Das, who gave the Lord the kinds of food that would help his digestion. And thus Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased. This is described in Antya Leela, 10th chapter, verses 142 through 151. Once while going to Jagannath Puri, all the devotees had to stay underneath a tree without a shelter of a house or even a shed. And Nityananda Prabhu became very angry, as if he were greatly disturbed by hunger. Thus he cursed Shivananda's sons to die. Shivananda's wife was very much aggrieved at this and she began to cry. She very seriously thought that since her sons had been cursed by Nityananda Prabhu, certainly they would die. When Shivananda later returned and saw his wife crying, he said, "Why are you crying? Let us all die if Nityananda Prabhu desires." When Shivananda Sena returned and Srila Nityananda Prabhu saw him, the Lord kicked him severely, complaining that he was very hungry, and asked why he had not arranged for his food. Such is the behavior of the Lord with his devotees. Srila Nityananda Prabhu behaved like an ordinary hungry man, as if completely dependent on the arrangements of Shivananda Sena. A nephew of Shivananda Sena's named Shrikanta left the company in protest of Nityananda Prabhu's curse and went directly to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri, where the Lord pacified him. On that occasion, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu allowed his toe to be sucked by Puri Das, who was then a child. It is by the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he could immediately compose Sanskrit verses. During the misunderstanding with Shivananda's family, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered his personal servant Govinda to give them all the remnants of his food. This is described in Antya Leela, chapter 12, verse 53. Translation again. Srila Shivananda Sena experienced the three features of Sakshat, Avesha, and Avirbhava. Later I shall describe the transcendently blissful subjects. Namagyanatimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadatmi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Raghunath Shri Vishakam Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Manchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvarevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srimad Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidvanto Riraditya Shri Krishna Parivartita Paramananda Padhaya Premavashi Aksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostute Madeka Bandho Matsangin Matkuro Manmahadhana Manishtaraka Madbhagya Mat Anandaya Namostute Asadu sadhu tadai natini shochata kara hana mancha kadachin mam premna het kantayospura. So, we're particularly discussing today the 24th branch of the tree of devotional service. This particular section or this chapter in itself speaks a lot about the glories of the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we know, is the incarnation of Sri Krishna himself, who appeared about 500 plus years ago in Navadvip in Bengal. So this in today's verse, we're discussing one particular devotee of Mahaprabhu, or who was born in the entire family of Mahaprabhu, who is known as Shivananda Sena. Shivananda Sena is very glorious. He's discussed over many sections in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Almost that personally that I could find was at least 30 to 35 different places where he's particularly referred to in the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, and many of his glories are discussed in different places. So when Krishna descends into this particular universe, or particularly into this world of ours, he displays his entire abode to attract us to go back to Godhead. Mahaprabhu's pastimes are even more attractive than Krishna's pastimes itself. We hear of different gopas and different gopis having different pastimes with the Lord, and then the sages would comment, Aho Bhagyam, Nanda Gopa Sutagutam, that Aho Bhagya, there is so much of fortune that these residents are getting to perform pastimes with Krishna himself. But Mahaprabhu's pastimes are even more glorious than Krishna's pastimes. Particularly Prabhupada himself, when one of the devotees one time asked Srila Prabhupada that how is it that we can control our mind? Our mind are so fickle. We have so many troubles in this particular world, and there's impossible nature of ours to even focus on devotional service as a practice. And Prabhupada immediately replied and said that we should hear more about Mahaprabhu's pastimes particularly. So Prabhupada emphasized that Mahaprabhu's pastimes or the Gaura Leela or the Chaitanya Charitamrita in itself is actually more glorious than Srimad Bhagavatam because it which sometimes is more difficult to understand in Krishna's pastimes. But in Mahaprabhu's pastimes, it's evident in every single devotee. It's evident in every single pastime which took place. And the best part is, or it's our responsibility also, that we take the message of Mahaprabhu to every single person that we know, because of course we know like Navadvip is the Gupt Vrindavan or the hidden Vrindavan. Same way Mahaprabhu's pastimes, Mahaprabhu's devotees are also Gupt devotees or hidden devotees who we don't even know about. Like majority of India itself does not even know about who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, who is Krishna's Kali Yuga avatar, where he appeared, and of course Bengal has been hiding it in a major aspect as well. But Prabhupada himself openly gave us this particular message so that we can speak about it, we can discuss it during our classes. So Shivananda Sena, like mentioned over here, he lived in a village. This village is still within the Indian territory today. And this village was actually quite a popular one. There are many saints that used to pass by this particular village, and many of them even performed their last part of their pastimes in this particular village. So he had three sons, which are particularly described in this verse, and the most glorious son was Chaitanya Das, who later we will also see what he did. So one of the aspects of Shivananda Sena that we're discussing over here. So Shivananda Sena, as mentioned in this purport, as we read, is actually one of the gopis of Vrindavan, two of the gopis which combine together to form Shivananda Sena. So, as we have been seeing over the last 40 verses in this particular chapter, many gopis particularly have taken birth in Mahaprabhu's pastimes. And of course, Radha himself has also come down as Gadadhar Pandit. So we see that they have taken a form of a man and just to associate with the Lord. But their inner service that they have in the spiritual world actually resonates here in the Gaura Leela as well. Like, for example, these two gopis actually were known to arrange for the different pastimes that used to take place in Golok Vrindavan. And they particularly used to do all the arrangements of the different gopis. Here, Shivananda Sena took exactly the same service. Exactly, but yeah, more or less the same service. So he used to arrange for all the devotees to go from Navadvip all the way to Jagannath Puri for the annual Rath Yatra that used to take place. And it's described that there used to be around 200 devotees. And it used to take about 1 month to go from Navadvip all the way to Jagannath Puri. So you can imagine, like it's like how we have the parikrama nowadays, Navadvip Mandal Parikrama. So there used to be like different kirtan parties in the front, in the back. There used to be flags. There used to be instruments. There used to be a lot of elements. Jai Shri Radha Parisisvara Jagannath Baladeshwara Sutta Ki Jai. So all of these kirtan parties that used to go along with all the other devotees used to travel, and you can imagine like at that time there was no railways, there was no flights. It was quite a long journey, and in the traditional times in India there used to be different zamindars that used to hold sections of land as well as the road. So you would not really have so much of the government maintained roads. It was done mostly by the zamindars. And what used to happen is that when you used to pass by on pilgrimages in the past, these zamindars used to charge a toll similar to the toll gates that we have now. but of course it's not electronic. And it's there used to be people standing there to collect different elements of toll. So it's even described that sometimes instead of money, like how we used to have the barter system, there used to be elements that used to be given to the zamindars to be able to cross the roads. And these roads were of course maintained by the zamindars, and they used to have like dharmashalas that used to be in many of these pilgrimage roads that used to go. And of course you could stay, you could eat, use toilets, use everything else in these particular dharmashalas as well. So Shivananda Sena, you can imagine, used to arrange for pilgrimage all the way from Navadvip to Puri for 1 month, including accommodation and prasadam in every single spot that they would stop. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, and sleeping arrangements, to everything. And without WhatsApp, without technology, without having supermarkets to just buy the elements from, without fire. It is not easy, Shivananda Sena's responsibility. And even medical facilities used to be arranged, because a lot of people would fall sick. They used to have bullock carts as well, and you have to take care of the bulls in itself who used to ride the bullock carts. So there's so many arrangements that Shivananda had to do. And it's not that he would just happily arrange it. There used to be times when things used to mess up. Like, for example, is described that one of the times Shivananda Sena was arrested, or more like that, detained by some of the official parties or official men of the government at that time. And because of that, some of the arrangements could not be done for Prasharam. And Nityananda Prabhu got so angry because he was hungry, because there was no food, there was no accommodation arranged. And as soon as he saw Shivananda Sena coming back, he kicked him, like in a very anger, with a lot of anger. And of course, it's a mercy kick. We hope someday we all get that as well. Like we saw actually in one of some of the previous verses. Who was it? One of the personalities who used to pretend to speak nonsense just to be chastised. Advaita Acharya, yeah. So he used to pretend to speak nonsense so that Mahaprabhu would get angry, at him, just so that he could experience the anger of the Lord. And that's why Prabhupada also, we saw many of the times, he would be chastising his disciples, because it is a responsibility of the Guru to chastise the disciples, to correct them on their path of their journey of devotional service. It's actually to be very fortunate to be able to get chastisement from your Guru. Nowadays, many of the times, we children, adults, don't like to be chastised by anyone, whether it's at workplace, whether it's teachers, whether it's parents. We don't want to be chastised in any way. But in the past, it used to be a tradition that the more the Guru chastises, the more purified we become, the more straightforward we become. So that was the glories of Krishna himself. We saw Krishna and Mahaprabhu in all the pastimes. There used to be a lot of chastisement as well, and of course a lot of mercy and love as well. So it used to be a mix. So Shivananda Sena, while organizing these, many times used to get this chastisement, because anyone who organizes also has to face the issues that arise with it. So Shivananda Sena used to pay personally for all the food. It's not just organizing it and collecting money from everyone. Shivananda Sena himself used to pay for all the toll taxes, the lodging, the food arrangements, and even generally the well-being of all the devotees. He used to, some way or the other, just constantly give them money. Many of the times, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to make fun of him, or jokingly refer to him as a father, because he would take care of them like a father in itself. So one of the aspects for us is that we perform service, but the other aspect we can learn from Shivananda Sena is also the dealings that he had with devotees, is to personally be like a father when arranging these different arrangements for these devotees. Uh, because it's easy to just arrange it by sitting on the other side, but to personally take care, that's another element of it. So pilgrimages used to be a very important aspect of those who would be able to arrange, like a responsibility of the grahastha ashrama. So grahasthas generally in traditional times have to do arrangements, and one of the things is of course prasharam, but the other arrangements was like these. So Prabhupada describes of how wealth should be used, and one of the aspects is this, because if we look at it, there is no other ashrama that is really earning money. Brahmacharis, no, sannyasis, no, vanaprasthas are retired, they're not supposed to be earning at all. So the only ashrama that can earn money or is allowed to earn money in traditional times was the grahastha ashrama. And of course, their responsibility comes in doing all the arrangements, because we cannot expect brahmacharis to be able to pay for all the expenses. So Shivananda Sena showed with great example on how he has to spend his earnings. But it's not that he would spend it very lavishly as well, because as we saw in the purport, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu many times would, like Vasudeva Datta, he would be sent to Shivananda Sena to learn accounting, to learn how to maintain a register, to ensure that the expenses are planned for. And Mahaprabhu even mentions planning for the future. So even aspects of preparing your wealth for a future, for retirement, for everything else was something that Mahaprabhu would push Vasudeva Datta and others to learn from Shivananda Sena. There's actually not a lot of information about how he did it, but it will be very interesting on how he maintained his money. Maybe in some of the books we can find, but yeah, there's so much to do. So some of the qualities of Shivananda Sena that are described are that he was very selfless, because if you really want to perform service to others, there can be no tinge of personal desire for ourselves. If we want name, we want fame, we want we so much of anarthas that all of us, at least I, it's just so much of inside these anarthas that we have inside of us, that it's so difficult to remove them, so difficult. And one of the things that we have to do is, of course, pray to Mahaprabhu and these acharyas and these devotees, to hear about them, and also to pray to our deities constantly, that we remove this particular desire that we have inside us of selfishness. Because if we really want to practice and learn from the qualities of Shivananda Sena and of course Mahaprabhu, we have to remove these anarthas within inside us. And unless we pray to the Lord to remove the dirty things inside our heart, it's almost impossible. There was this in the Narsingha book, which is written by Pankajangre Prabhu in Mayapur. In one of the pastimes, it's described that one of the devotees, she went to Narsingha Dev deity in Mayapur, and she intensely prayed that, Narsingha, please remove my dirty desires in my heart so that I can really pray and serve you. And she sincerely prayed for that. And that night, the night when she prayed, Narsinghadev appeared in her dreams, and Narsinghadev was from her neck and the chest area. He was removing something, and she asked Narsinghadev, "What are you doing?" And Narsinghadev said, "I'm removing your dirty desires from your heart, which you asked for." And then he removed, and he showed a big black ball. And Narsinghadev then told her that these are your dirty desires that you have, which are built over lifetimes. And Narsinghadev threw them very far away. And the next morning when she woke up, she could see that she had marks of nails on her neck and her chest area. And she immediately went to Pankajangri Prabhu and she narrated this particular pastime, and she said that that Nrsingadev actually listened when I said that please remove my dirty desires, and he actually did it. So Pankajangri Prabhu describes in that book that we have to pray to be able to remove those desires, because if we don't pray, we need the help to be able to become like Shivananda Sena and become what Mahaprabhu wants us to be. So selflessness, we have to be selfless like Shivananda Sena in our service. And of course, one of the other aspect was humility, because when you're doing so many arrangements for devotees, of course, devotees will praise you, will be happy with your service. Mahaprabhu himself praised Shivananda Sena so many times, but he maintained his humility at all times. And of course, he continued with his faith and devotion, because here we see in the purport, he was cursed by Nityanand Prabhu. Like imagine, you're serving the Lord, you're serving the ladies, you're serving, and then Nityanand Prabhu comes and he curses you that your three sons are going to die. So for any of us, they'll be like, okay, I'm just giving up. I don't want to serve Krishna Mahaprabhu anymore. I'm just going away, because even if I serve, I still get curses. Forget chastisement. Chastisement is still okay. Curses is another level. But actually, so that's one of the things why many of the Hindus as well, they stay away from Krishna, they stay away from Mahaprabhu, because you can go to any other devta and you can prepare your shopping list with, give me this, give me that, house, car, I don't know. Macron would ask for a government right now, but yeah, so many things you can pray to the Lord for. And they will give it, many of the devtas. But Krishna, not so easily, because he has a relationship with his devotees. It goes beyond the awe and reverence that we have, because Mahaprabhu gives you more than just these simple things that we generally ask for. So in the same way, Shivananda actually told his wife that if Nityanand Prabhu wants our sons to die, let them die, because it's Nityanand Prabhu who's taking care of them. So we don't need to worry. And we see, like, for example, even the Kurukshetra, the battle, all the soldiers that died attained salvation. Of course, what kind of mukti is still discussed later, but they still got benefit out of the arrangements. So in any way, whatever happens with the Lord, there is always benefits. There is always sukriti. There is always punya. There's so many of these aspects that happens, and we see constantly again and again with pastimes of Lord Ramachandra, with Krishna, with Mahaprabhu. Anyone who goes, they get benefited, and not for a short time, but an eternal perspective, because our lifetime is not restricted only to one. We're living birth after birth. And of course, hopefully this is our last birth, so that we can all go back to Krishna. And that can only happen if we get a curse like this from Mahaprabhu and Nityananda. Because it's described that if we let's assume, like, we on the last moment at the time of our death, we are eligible, we chant the name of Krishna, we have done enough devotional service, we have done enough sukriti, we have been purified enough, and we are eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. But it's described that the journey of the soul, it goes through different coverings of the universe, and each covering is more opulent than the other covering that you have. Some of them you'll see there will be diamonds, there will be beautiful women, there will be different elements. And even once, if we have the slightest desire to just look at it, forget even want it. If we just look at it, like, we come back into the material world again. Of course, Prabhupada, that's why I said that he has the backdoor entry to the spiritual world, because the front one is very difficult to go to. So if we just hold on to our Guru, because we are not purified enough, at least I am not purified enough. And to be honest, Prabhupada says many times that it might take lifetimes to actually become purified, to remove that dirty stuff within our heart, to actually become a devotee. But if we hold on to our Guru, they have the key to go from the back door entry, because if they recommend once that to Krishna that he is a good and sincere soul, take him. Krishna is obliged to take that person, regardless if we are completely purified or not purified. It's just that Guru's mercy. That's why initiation is one of the important aspects. Without a Guru, we cannot attain Krishna. There is no personal endeavor that can really take us to a larger extent. So, one of the other things in this purport is also described the dog of Shivananda Sena. So, it's funny. Shivananda Sena kept a dog so much so that one time it's described that one of the aspects of the path to go to Puri was through the river. And the boatman refused that I'm not going to take this dog of yours on the boat. And Shivananda Sena was trying to convince him, but he refused. And Shivananda Sena then gave him a lot of money, and then the dog was allowed to get on the boat to cross the Ganga and go on the other side. And this dog was so dear to Shivananda Sena because he was, of course, he was doing the pilgrimage in itself, and at the same time he was getting prasadam constantly throughout the entire journey. And one of the times when Shivananda Sena was caught up, somehow the dog was not fed prasad or food on time, and the dog ran away or no one took care of him. And Shivananda Sena was so angry that he sent 10 men to go and look for the dog and to find. And until the dog came back, Shivananda Sena did not even eat anything. He was fasting just for praying for the dog to come back. But the dog was in a different world. He somehow reached Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu was interacting with the dog and was telling the dog that chant Krishna, chant Rama, and he was telling the dog like scream Krishna and the dog would bark, scream Rama and the dog would bark. And everyone was looking at this wonderful pastime which was taking place between the dog and Mahaprabhu, where Mahaprabhu was telling the dog to chant. And we see, of course, when Mahaprabhu was in the forest of Jharkhand, the tigers, the deers, the different animals used to chant and dance as well. And then they used to start hugging each other. You can see, imagine a tiger and a deer hugging each other. But that was done in Mahaprabhu's pastimes. And Mahaprabhu would sing Krishna Krishna Hare, the famous bhajan that Mahaprabhu would sing. He would sing in that pastime. So here as well, he was singing bhajans to the dog. And right after this interaction with Mahaprabhu, the dog actually attained salvation. He went back to the spiritual abode. So even a dog can go back to the spiritual world just by the mercy of Mahaprabhu. That's the glories of Krishna's name, Rama's name, and of course the association, and the most important element, prasadam. Prabhupada says in one of his purports that this is the result of sadhu sangha, consequent association with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and promotion back home, back to Godhead. This result is possible even for a dog by the mercy of the Vaishnava. Therefore, everyone in the human form of life should be induced to associate with devotees. By rendering a little service, even by eating little prasadam, what to speak of chanting and dancing, everyone can be promoted to Vaikuntha Loka. It is therefore requested that all our devotees in the ISKCON community become pure Vaishnavas, so that by their mercy, all the people of the world will be transferred to Vaikuntha Loka, even without their knowledge. So as an organization in ISKCON, one of our responsibility is to distribute prasadam to every single person, whether they understand the importance or they don't. Just go out there to give that prasadam, like we see Prabhupada used to give ISKCON bullets, as we would call it, gulab jamuns. Prabhupada used to give it to anyone and everyone. And we see today, because of that, there are 800 temples around the world. People became devotees just by this prasadam element. So even dogs can get purified. So whenever we get a chance, we should always carry prasadam everywhere we go and somehow or the other give it to them. And later on, it also says that Chaitanya Das, who was the son of Shivananda Sena, even he cooked really nice preparations of prasadam for Mahaprabhu. But something very different. Like some of the preparations that are described, it says he made pungent preparations, like more with pickles and with dahi, yogurt, milk, cheese, different kinds of spinach, soup made with bitter lemon, eggplant mixed with nimba flowers, and fried patola. So when I was reading all these things, it's unimaginable to eat these different delicacies that were offered, but Mahaprabhu loved them, and he was so happy with Chaitanya Das for eating these things. But Mahaprabhu said that Chaitanya Das understood what Mahaprabhu wants, and then he gave them preparations according to that. So one of the things when we're giving prasadam or when we're inviting devotees is always to understand what the person will eat. One of the times when I was with Bhakti Narsingha Maharaj, Vigna Vinay Narsingha Maharaj takes only Ekadashi prasadam like throughout his life. Like he took a vow of only having Ekadashi prasad. So many of the times when he goes for preaching programs, when he travels around the world, most of the devotees don't even know like he has only Ekadashi prasad on a non-Ekadashi day. He actually many times does not get prasadam. He is not able to eat. And he never complains, he never asks, he never says anything. To read the mind, to understand what the devotee actually eats is an important element of prasadam serving as well. Some of the other things that were offered was fula badi, liquid moong dal, and many veggies, which were as per the Lord's taste. So, yes, there are so many descriptions just of the prasadam that were offered by Shivananda Sena, by Chaitanya Das. It is described that Mahaprabhu liked them so much that he overate, and because of that he got indigestion. And that's when Chaitanya Das prepared many of these things so that his indigestion would go away. But yeah, we'll not get into more of these details, we'll get more hungry. But the other thing that is described in this verse are three elements. There is Sakshat, Avesha, and Avirbhava. These are the three experiences which Shivananda Sena had. Now, what are these three elements? These three elements are actually a profound experience for the Vedic literature. Like the first one is Sakshat. Sakshat is more or less like a Sanskrit, but of course also used in the Hindi language. Hame aapke sakshat darshan hue. Like sakshat means a direct manifestation, or like a complete or a fullness. Sakshat is the nature. So how did Shivananda experience Sakshat? By his direct service to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that was his experience. So one of the things for us, like when we are serving the Guru, we have two different aspects of serving the Guru. One is direct service, and one is through Vani service that we hear and we practice it that way. And Prabhupada many times mentioned that actually the Vani service is more important than direct service, because in direct service it's not so easy in the first element, because to personally serve a guru means a lot of chastisement, but also to be mature, to be smart, to understand the mood of your guru or whoever else you're serving, because nobody likes dumb service. We have to really be in the moment, and it's not easy for everyone. It's not easy for most of us. Yeah. So that's why the other two elements come into place, which is Avesha and Avirbhava. So Avesha is indirect influence, which is like an inspiration that comes from within, or it's also known as absent from direct association. So this is something which Shivananda Sena would experience. So it said he got divine empowerment to organize and care for Mahaprabhu's devotees. So that empowerment that he got is mentioned as the Avesha. So we can also translate this as the Vani, or the instructions that we hear. And so one is Jnana, and then comes Vairagya, is also to realize it. So this realization, this empowerment, this understanding of the instructions is referred to as Avesha. That's why Prabhupada many times says that Avesha, or actual understanding of Guru and to serve him through his instructions, is more important than direct service, because many of the times we don't get direct service with our guru and of course with Srila Prabhupada himself. But by understanding their instructions, living by the instructions, we get more mercy, which is what Shivananda Sera actually got. And the last one he got was Avir Bhava. So Avir Bhava is a very interesting experience in Vedic literature. Like Avir Bhava is also described, like for example, when Narsinghadev, when he appeared from a pillar, that sudden appearance is called Avir Bhava. Anything which happens all of a sudden, which is not predictable, or it's not in the flow, in the moment, as we call it. So sudden spiritual manifestations are known as Avir Bhava. So we see the Lord many of the times displays Avir Bhava. Many of the times Mahaprabhu, he would go into ecstasy. He would be chanting the name of the Lord, and suddenly he'll go and jump into the ocean, and he'll be drowned. He'll just go away. He will run away. So these are known as sudden spiritual manifestations, which are generally at a very high level of spiritual manifestation, which of course sometimes people misuse as well. Like for example, Prabhupada was in Mayapur in the temple, and there was this Bengali local devotee who came, and he started to roll on the floor, and he started to dance like crazy and act as if he's going mad in Krishna's love. But and the devotees were all amazed, and they all just went apart from him, and he was just running and sweeping the floor and rolling over the floor, and Prabhupada was present over there, and Prabhupada called the watchman, the security that was there, and he said, pick him up and throw him outside. and everyone was like shocked, like he's experiencing highest symptoms. What is Prabhupada doing? Like, the guard, he took him, he threw him outside, and immediately as soon as he threw him outside, he started wiping his clothes and he just walked away. So Prabhupada explained that this. No, I think Jivpran Prabhu is here. So, so Prabhupada explained at that particular moment that this experiencing or sudden manifestation of symptoms is not so cheap that anyone and everyone can do. It's not that anyone can suddenly start crying, experiencing different symptoms and going crazy. This is on a very high level, and it should not even be imitated. So this is something that we saw in Shivananda Sena's his entire manifestations. We saw it with Nityananda Prabhu. We also saw it in his son Chaitanya Sena. So many of Shivananda Sena's lifetime is like an instruction for us on how to practice devotional service. That's why in the whole of Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are many places where constantly the qualities of Shivananda Sena and his pastimes are described. And actually there is so much. Right now we're just covering like a very small element of it, because especially in the Adi-Lila, there is in almost many pastimes, somehow or the other Shivananda Sena is there. But of course we'll not go into many of those pastimes. But let's pray that we can all imbibe by the mood, the characteristics, the personality. We can learn from Shivananda Sena, so that someday we can also become an eternal associate of Mahaprabhu's pastimes in any way or the other. Of course, as Shivananda Sena is also the gopi in Vrindavan, so someday we can also go back to Vrindavan and some way or the other serve Shivananda Sena in the gopi form over there, so that they can do arrangements for Krishna's pastimes, Mahaprabhu's pastimes. So that's all for today. Any questions? Any comments? Anything you want to share? Yes.
I always have this question: what happened to the sons of Shrimad said, "To the diameter."
I actually try to look the same because
I heard this pastor only till this.
Yeah, there is.
The cards, but what happened to them afterwards?
Actually, I don't know because I also tried looking because
You're telling about Chaitanya Das.
yeah, Chaitanya. So all three sons. So it's not just sons. Actually, it's described there are 5 of them in total. There are 2 nephews also, which are very glorious, which are described I think in the purport also. So there are 5 in total. But of course, the curse was only for the 3. But eventually everybody dies. But yeah, it's described that because they talk about how Chaitanya Das actually started to do so much after Mahaprabhu left as well. Because he started to he compiled the full this Ganodesha Dipika. He contributed so much into the Chaitanya literature, the and this was not done over a short period of time. This was done over a long period of time after Mahaprabhu's disappearance. So
it was just a hoax.
Maybe it was a test for Shivananda's wife, Shivananda Sena as well. But of course, Nityananda Prabhu did not give a timeline to the death. Actually, it's a good curse to give to someone, because anyway, everybody has to die anyway, so you're going to die someday. But no, I don't think there are descriptions. There must be, but at least I didn't find.
Kaushal remains.
I mean, that's one thing, like when there are questions which are unanswered, it makes us go more into the Vedic literature, and like it's almost difficult to, like, for example, when my spiritual master Bhakti Vikas Swami, when he was compiling the book on Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava, so he spent 20 years of research on that particular book, and he met almost every single disciple who was alive of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati to take their interview. And he went through all the literatures of people who compiled their interaction with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So if that took him 20 years of research, like imagine Mahaprabhu's pastimes, which were not even recorded like 500 and some years ago. So yeah, you can imagine there's so much work to be done to get all these elements. Someday, yeah. That's why we now have a library in Kolkata as well, which Hari Sauri Prabhu is managing. So some way or the other compile all the Vaishnava literature. But yeah, maybe there they can find. I don't know. So any other questions, comments? Yes, Prabhu.
Just one comment and one question. When you mentioned about how it's chastisement is needed, especially from Guru. So I wrote a passage of Prabhupada Lilamrita where Srila Prabhupada is explained, like he was chastising 2 of his disciples, Matajis, who were doing some flyer somehow. And on the flyer it was written about his foreign disciples, and Prabhupada was very angry with that, because he said, no, it should not be written foreign, it should be written American and European, because this is attractive. What is this? He was very chastising them. And so they just took it, cried so much, left the room. And the disciple, Prabhu, I don't remember the name, but came to, to cheer them up and to make them a second version of the flyer. And then Prabhupada was more satisfied with this one. And he explained, actually, to be disciple means there should be discipline. It's not I have any problem with you, but I have to do because it is my duty as the spiritual master to do it. So this reminds me this last time how Prabhupada was dealing also, even if it seems externally like a chastisement, very difficult, unfair or something, actually for our ultimate benefit, always. So we should trust this, and by looking how Prabhupada dealt with his disciples, it's very inspiring and beautiful. And the question was regarding the 3 aspects. So the sakshat aspect is the direct experience.
Yes.
The avirbhava is like a spontaneous manifestation of the Lord.
Right.
Yeah. And in the middle, I'm not quite clear about the Avesha aspects.
Yes.
Because, yeah, I didn't understand from the example of the purport how it was an Avesha manifestation.
I'll just display my notes. Maybe that will be easier. Sometimes it's easier with a comparative study. Okay, so this is the table that I made. Of course, I found all the information online and different places. But so we have the three aspects that are mentioned over here. The nature, like I mentioned, Sakshat is more like direct manifestation. Avesha is indirect influence. And Avirbhava is sudden. I think Avirbhava is quite clear because it's more like a sudden manifestations and it's more of a symptoms. And the divine form generally in a sakshat is generally referred to as full and complete, because it's the same thing like, for example, when we are serving Srila Prabhupada directly, the form is complete and full, like Prabhupada is present right in front of you. The form is, and same with Mahaprabhu, same with any kind of aspect that we have. For example, even Krishna's Vishwarupa in the Gita is described as Sakshat, because Arjuna was able to Sakshat see the Vishwarupa which Krishna showed to him on the battlefield. Avesha is not direct. It's like, for example, it comes from an inspiration within. We also hear, like, another example is Chaitya Guru. You know, when the Guru from within. So we have two kinds of gurus that are generally referred to as. One is a physical guru who is in front of us, and the other guru comes in as a Chaitya Guru. So many times we hear like a divine voice inside us telling us, like, whenever sometimes we're doing something wrong, whenever particularly we're trying to do something in our life, there is the guru from within, which is also referred to as the super soul or the Paramatma. So we have the Atma and Paramatma within us. So the Paramatma guides us through. So this is also referred to as Avesha. So the divine form is absent as such. It works through a medium. So the medium can vary over different aspects. So how we can see in Shivananda's life, these three is also here. So Sakshat, he got direct service of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and the devotees. So there's no question about that. In Avesha, it just mentions that he got divine empowerment to organize and care for Mahaprabhu's devotees. So he got the inspiration from within to be able to serve. But there is no specific mention of what he got or how he got it. But it's just that service is referred to as Avesha because it comes from within, it comes from realization, it comes from all the knowledge that we get and instructions. So that's all that I understand of it from the purport. Maybe there is more, but this is that I understand from the purport, that he just got divine empowerment. I couldn't find a specific line which clearly states this.
Okay, it's not
clear. So yeah. And then, of course, Avirbhava is where he got sudden manifestations, like Chaitanya Das went into ecstasy, which is also described in the purport, and Lord Nityananda blessing him by giving him the curse. So Nityananda Prabhu immediately or suddenly did it. Therefore, it comes as Avirbhava. So it was a sudden curse that was given to him. Avesha, there's no direct line for it, but my understanding is it is the divine empowerment to organize and care and all the services he was doing. So service in general will be Avesha. Yeah. So even if we go back to this table, it's also another example generally is a divine inspiration of a sage, which we see many times. So first I thought that it will be more like, for example, when Vyasadeva, he got the instruction from Narada, and also we see that when Narad Muni was small, he got the inspiration from within to because first he had a darshan of the Lord, but after that the darshan went away. And later on, there was a voice that spoke to him, which is from the spiritual world in itself. So all of these can be referred to as divine inspiration that he got, because they are not sakshat, they are not direct, because he was not directly able to see the Lord. And at the same time, it was an inspiration that came from within.
And the difference then between sakshat and avirbhava is the fact that it is sudden or not. Because if we take Narasimha Dev appearing from the pillar, it is accessible to the senses, it's a direct manifestation, but because it is sudden and temporary, then it's considered avirbhava.
Only because of the sudden element. Only because of the sudden element. So I think avirbhava will also have elements of sakshat and avesha, more sakshat than avesha, but because it is sudden, it is classified in a different category. It's just a representation. And if you see, it has an element of bhava in the word in itself. So bhava is the mood, it's the bhav in itself that comes into place. So most of the time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was actually showing symptoms of avirbhava, sudden manifestation, because suddenly he'll jump into the river, suddenly he'll do something. So it was more of avirbhava. And I'm sure we can also relate to Mahaprabhu getting avesha also, because many times he got inspiration from within. Like, for example, when he became a devotee after going through all his studies and becoming a learned scholar, so there's not a lot of description on how he became a devotee, how he suddenly became a devotee. It was not sudden, but that can be described as more as a realization that he got. So even Mahaprabhu showed avesha as such. But again, this is my understanding. I can be wrong. So, So, thank you, Prabhu. Okay, Hare Krishna. So, thank you all for joining. And tomorrow the class will be by Jiva Pran Prabhu, so we can be there for the next verse. Jai Shri Chaitanya Chaitamrita ki Jai. Krishna Swami ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai. Patita Pavana Prabhu ki Jai.
Samaveta Bhakti Yoga ki
Jai.